Last updated November 7, 2017, 1:25 p.m. EST. Sutherland Springs, Texas. The gunman who killed 26 people at a small-town Texas church went all-to-all looking for victims and shot crying babies at point-blank range, a couple who survived the attack said. Roseanne Solis and Joaquin Ramirez were sitting near the entrance to the First Baptist Church on Sunday when they heard what sounded like firecrackers and realized someone was shooting at the tiny wood-frame building. In an interview with San Antonio television station XOT, Solis said congregants began screaming and dropped to the floor. She could see bullets flying into the carpet and fellow worshippers falling down, bloodied, after getting hit. Ramirez said after entering the church, the gunman first shot those in charge of the camera and audio of the service. He then moved down the center aisle toward those on the church dais. For a moment, the attack seemed to stop, and worshippers thought that police had arrived to confront the gunman. But then he entered the church yelling "Everybody die!" and resumed shooting hard at helpless families, Solis said. The gunman checked each aisle for more victims, including babies who cried out amid the noise and smoke, Ramirez said. The couple survived by huddling close to the ground and playing dead. Solis was shot in the arm. Ramirez was hit by shrapnel. Farida Brown, 73, thought she was going to die when gunman, identified by authorities as Devin Patrick Kelly, 26, made his way to her pew, her son David Brown told CBS affiliate Ken's TV. The shooter was making his rounds, and he ended up there and started shooting this lady multiple times, David Brown told the station. And the lady looked at my mom the whole time, and my mom was looking at her and telling her, "It's okay, you're going to go to heaven. You're going to go to heaven." And then she knew it was her turn to be shot, and so she just started praying that God would take her soul to heaven. But Kelly turned his attention to another man with a gun, David Brown said. Stephen Williford had run out of his house near the church barefoot, shot at Kelly and forced him to flee on a high-speed chase that ended in his death. About 20 other people were wounded. Investigators collected at least 15 empty magazines that held 30 rounds each at the scene, suggesting the assailant fired at least 450 rounds. Kelly had a history of domestic violence that spanned years before the attack and was able to buy weapons because the Air Force did not submit his criminal history to the FBI as required by military rules. If Kelly's past offenses had been properly shared, they would have prevented him from buying a gun, the Air Force acknowledged Monday. Investigators also revealed that Kelly had sent threatening text messages to his mother-in-law, a member of the church, before the attack, and that sheriff's deputies had responded to a domestic violence call in 2014 at his home involving a girlfriend who became his second wife. Later that year, he was formally ousted from the Air Force for a 2012 assault on his ex-wife in which he choked her and struck her son hard enough to fracture his skull. At a news conference in South Korea, President Trump was asked if he would support extreme vetting for gun purchases in the same way he has called for extreme vetting for people entering the country. Mr. Trump responded by saying stricter gun control measures might have led to more deaths in the shooting because Williford would not have been armed. If he didn't have a gun, instead of having 26 dead, you would have had hundreds more dead, Mr. Trump said. In the tiny town of Sutherland Springs, population 400, grieving townspeople reeled from their losses. The dead ranged from 18 months to 77 years old and included multiple members of some families. Our church was not comprised of members or parishioners. We were a very close family, said the pastor's wife Sherry Pomeroy, who, like her husband, was out of town when the attack happened. Now most of our church family is gone. The couple's 14-year-old daughter, Annabelle Pomeroy, was among those killed. Kelly's mother-in-law sometimes attended services there, but the sheriff said she was not at church Sunday. The massacre appeared to stem from a domestic situation and was not racially or religiously motivated, Texas Department of Public Safety Regional Director Freeman Martin said. He did not elaborate. Based on evidence at the scene, investigators believe Kelly died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound after he was chased by Wilfred and another man and crashed his car. The 26-year-old shooter also used his cell phone to tell his father he had been shot and did not think he would survive, authorities said. While in the military, Kelly served in logistics readiness at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico from 2010 until his 2014 discharge, Air Force spokeswoman Ann Stefanik said. He was discharged for the assault involving his previous wife and her child and had served a year of confinement after a court-martial. Under Pentagon rules, information about convictions of military personnel for crimes such as assault should be submitted to the FBI's Criminal Justice Investigation Services Division. Stefanik said the service is launching a review of its handling of the case and taking a comprehensive look at its databases to ensure other cases have been reported correctly. A few months before he received the bad conduct discharge, sheriff's deputies went to his home to check out the domestic violence complaint involving him and his then-girlfriend. People in the house said there was no problem, and no arrests were made. Kelly married the girlfriend 2 months later. Also in 2014, he was charged with misdemeanor animal cruelty in Colorado after a neighbor reported him for beating a dog. Kelly initially refused to speak with officers about the incident. He denied abusing the animal but complied with an order to pay almost $370 in restitution. He was also the focus of a protective order issued in Colorado in 2015. Kelly lived in New Braunfels, about 35 miles north of the church, and had recently started a job as an unarmed security guard at a nearby resort. Wilfred had help from another local resident, Johnny Langendorf, who said he was driving past the church as the shooting happened. The armed resident asked to get in Langendorf's truck, and the pair followed as the gunman drove away. He jumped in my truck and said, "He just shot up the church. We need to go get him." And I said, "Let's go," Langendorf said. The pursuit reached speeds up to 90 miles per hour. Wilfred told Arkansas TV stations KHBS, COG that he kept a 911 operator advised of the situation during the chase. The gunman eventually lost control of his vehicle and crashed. Wilfred walked up to the vehicle with his gun drawn, and the attacker did not move. Police arrived about 5 minutes later, Langendorf said. The assailant was dead in his vehicle. He had 3 gunshot wounds, 2 from where the armed man hit him in the leg and the torso and the third self-inflicted wound to the head, authorities said. There was no thinking about it. There was just doing. That was the key to all this. Act now. Ask questions later, Langendorf said.